approve the agenda with the exception of with 11 and 12 removed.
So moved.
Second. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Public comment today?
So moved.
Second. All right. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye. First, 2015. There we go. Do I need to start over? Okay. So anyway, you have two documents in your packets there. One document is the financial statements, and then the other document I refer to as a management letter. And so I'll briefly talk about the financial statements. And so our audit process, we come down to the authorities' offices and spend a few days down here going through, the numbers, the financial statement disclosures that are in the financial statements. And as part of that process, we select samples of checks that are written. We confirm balances with the state and your bank institutions to make sure that, the policies and procedures that you, the authority board, and your predecessors have put in place are being followed by staff, and so then that allows us to issue our opinion on the financial statements. And so all the numbers in this document, all the footnote disclosures in this document, they're responsibility of the authority's management. And then our responsibility is to issue an independent opinion. And that is on pages A and B following the table of contents. And so the first part on page A talks about management's responsibilities and then our responsibility as your auditors. And to me, the paragraph that's the most important is at the top of page B under opinions. And so that paragraph there is an unmodified opinion. And so what does that mean in layman's terms? That means it's a clean opinion. Okay, so that's the best that a governmental entity can receive from an audit firm. What does that tell you as a board? It tells you that all the numbers in the footnote disclosures in this document are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles for a local government entity. Okay. The other thing I point out is that, we always look to see if there's any adjustments that need to be made to the numbers. We made no adjustments to the numbers. So that tells you that what you have seen throughout the year through 2015 are the numbers that are in the final document for the financial statements here. Okay. Now, if you look on pages 1 and 2, page 1 is a statement of net position, and that's like a snapshot picture as of December 31st of the authority's assets, and the liabilities or claims against those assets, and then followed by the net position or net worth, net equity in the authority. And so you can see your total assets, you have $116 million in cash. Well, we always look at that and see, the biggest thing is that, it seems like you have a lot of cash, but these past couple of years have been planning and design years. Not a lot of money has been going out towards construction. And so when and that's pretty evident when you look at the bottom in the net position where we have net position restrictions for the priority capital projects. Of your $120 million of net position, $92 million of it is restricted for these projects, okay? And so the one thing we look at is 2015 was the first year of the new tax levy. okay, for the sales tax. And so in part of our process of going through the audit, we pick samples of disbursements to make sure that the expenditures related to capital projects on the initial capital A list and the new capital A list are being properly reported in the accounting system. And we did not have any issues when we were going through that. Okay? So I know as time goes, based on, budgets and planning, this year I believe some of these construction projects are going to get started. So we expect to see, you're going to be each year getting the sales tax revenues, but you're going to be spending some of those revenues towards the capital projects. So next year you may see actually a little bit of a decrease in your net position. Okay. And so I'll point out on pages 11 and 12, this is your budgetary comparison schedule. And so this may be something that you see throughout the year, but we broke it up into 2 pages because now we have what we call the Renewal Capital A List projects. That's on page 11. And then on page 12 are the initial Capital A projects. And again, you can see there that the one thing we look at is how did your actual expenditures compare to budget? Well, you're pretty far under as far as for 2015 because, again, those capital projects haven't started yet. Okay. So in closing on the financial statements, again, the footnotes, I won't go through them, but really there's some required disclosures that are in there by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, and so there's nothing of issue that we had there during our audit. So then the other document from the financials that you have in front of you is the management letter. And again, our professional standards require us to communicate certain things to you, the governing board of the authority. And so it's a 3-page document, and the first part talks about our responsibilities as your auditors. And then on page 2, there's certain things, accounting estimates, significant accounting policies, significant audit adjustments. If there were any issues there, you probably would have heard from us before now. So again, that tells you as a board, the policies and procedures that you've put in place are being followed. Because even if we had some small issues in there for best practices or something, anything, it's you have a good set of accounting policies and procedures. Okay. So any questions?
Any questions for Tom?
On ID and 2016 budget highlights, you talk about 2% due to a reduction in estimated cost sharing receipts, the original budgeted revenue, and then you talk about the actual sales and use tax revenue. Okay, now.
Okay.
Okay, I'm reading this too fast. So we're anticipating an increase in sales and use tax collections. So net positive, is that what? Are we supposed to read the 2016 budget highlights, IV?
Oh, so what it's talking about is talking about your overall revenue. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Beverly, is that the overall revenue, because you don't only get the sales and use tax revenues, you have all the transit revenues that are coming in. And then there's also, I think, what they're referring to here is there was some cost sharing that was done in the prior year. That cost sharing isn't going to be as much in 2016. Is that right? Yeah. And so, but you're right. Yeah, it's actually a net. When you net those two together, you're going to have a net increase.
Net increase anyway.
Yeah, because of the sales and use tax revenues. And again, that's kind of a hard one for you guys to project because.
2% reduction.
Is there any
Mhm.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the audit?
Move to accept.
Second. Any other discussion? Anybody in the audience have anything they'd like to say? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I was just going to say one last thing. You know, I do want to thank Beverly and Rick and Rob and the staff here because they have the hard part of finding the information for us, and so it makes our job a lot easier.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. Okay, let's, Reb, I'm sorry.
One other thing, this is a limited audit, based on what the information. So, is there a more detailed audit that we have every so many years, or?
this is a detailed audit.
This is a
Yeah.
detailed audit?
Yeah.
I think someone here said limited information. You didn't express anything or provide any assurance on the information because the limited procedures do not provide us with sufficient evidence to express an opinion.
Okay, so what that's referring to, see, that title there, required supplementary information. So the required supplementary information is your budget schedule on pages 11 and 12. So that's what that paragraph refers to. Okay, because in our audit process, you know, your budget is budgetary basis. Okay, your financial statements are GAAP basis, and so we have to put that. It's called an in relation to. And so in relation to our audit, our detailed audit of the numbers, this budgetary, we look at that, but we don't get as involved in auditing the budgetary statements on pages 11 and 12 as we do on everything prior to that. Does that help?
Yeah, snapshot. Got it.
Thanks,
All right,
John.
thank you.
All right,
Okay?
let's go to Reb and
All right.
the CAC report.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Reb Williams with the CAC. There were no public comments at our meeting. We had no comments to forward to the board for the monthly financial reports. The amended fiscal 2016 budget was approved with a positive recommendation to the board, with the exception of the capital section for the City of Colorado Springs budget, which is the city's going to give us more information next month. Transit service monthly update, there was it was an information only. There were no comments to forward to the board. The City of Colorado Springs monthly change order and property acquisition report was information only. The quarterly reports from the member governments were information only. No comments to the board. I do want to note that the CAC felt that those reports are very good, well written, and appreciated greatly. There were no comments from the CAC about what the board has done in past meeting, and there were no recommendations for topics for the next meeting from the CAC. However, Mr. Chavez from the city staff brought forth a concept of $500,000 task orders for future engineering design contracts instead of the current. It was only for information, floating the idea. He intends to present further information next month. Any questions?
Any questions for Reb? All right, thank you, Reb. Let's bring up Good News Beverly again. That is your name from now on, Beverly.
Well, we'll see how long that lasts.
No,
No, the jobs report is not good, so that is usually
I was trying to get before Beverly came up. Can we get a motion to accept the last item?
I apologize. Is there a motion to accept the report from the CAC? So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, thanks.
Okay, so for April sales and use taxes, we just got this information right before this meeting, and that's why I only have 2 pages to this report, because I didn't get a chance to get it into the financial statements. But this is the part that is the interesting part anyway. So almost $7 million compared to $6,781,000 budget, so $190 over budget, or 2.8% for the month. And we're 1,682,000 over budget for the year to date, or 6.5%. So then when we do the amended budget, we put an extra 3 million into the amended budget, which is the next item. So we should be able to make that, hopefully, without too much trouble. So page 2 compares to last year's actual, and for the month, we're 106 ahead of last April, or 5%, and 1,377,000 ahead year-to-date through April. Are there any questions?
Any questions regarding the financial report? That's good. Thanks, Becky.
Welcome.
That was informational only. Let's go to the draft agreement on 2016 budget. What I'm going to be asking for is that we set the presentation and the approval of the budget for, and a public hearing for July 13th. But Beverly, do you want to report anything on the budget before I ask for the date to be set for a public hearing?
No.
Okay, is there a motion to set? So moved. Second. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thanks, Beverly.
Okay, so for next month, then, we'll go through the presentations because El Paso County commissioners aren't here today. And we'll do that next month. And I just have one other financial item for today, and that's, we have a CD for $10 million that's going to renew mid-June, so June 17th. And the quotes that I've gotten are for renewal, 1 year, 0.35%. I know, don't get excited. 24 months, 0.55, and 36 months, 1%. And I would recommend that we renew the $10 million because we have so much cash in the bank at the 3-year, because there's 9 point something in our reserve. And so we're probably not never, but we're not going to dig into that reserve in the next 3 years for sure because of the stage of our capital projects, even over the next 3 years. We're just not going to get through that much cash. So I just wanted to bring it to the board and see if there's any objection.
Doing that? Yes, Bill.
Well, the question that comes now, as we gain the system, 3 years is a fairly long time as far as interest rates go.
That's true.
And of course, Helen, I think yesterday said, I don't know what I'm going to do. This is the nice way to put it. However, there is anticipation of probably 2 increases this year as the book going like this. So, your best guess, can we turn around if the interest rates go up and get rid of the bond without too much difficulty?
Not for this 10 million, but we can always invest more.
We have another one coming up.
Right, there's another one in December, and then also the difference between 0.35, say that's the current rate for a year, 0.35. I don't think it's going to make it up 1% in this kind of investment anytime soon. Yeah.
What's the middle option?
0.55, so not very much more. That one is 24 months. So for another year, we get almost 0.5%.
On money that we think we'll have in funds anyway.
Yeah.
And we'll have another opportunity to evaluate what Bill said in December.
Yeah. I thought Jumbo's were getting like 10 million jumbo. Would be getting more than that particular rate.
Now, we're PDPA, Public Depository Protection Act, and that affects our interest rates also.
I don't see any objection from our board.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
There are no issues for capital maintenance and public transportation contracts. So let's move into the reports. The City of Colorado Springs Transit Services.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and board members. Craig Blewett, City of Colorado Springs Mountain Metro Transit. Our report is in your packet, and just a couple quick highlights. Local fixed route bus service had a slight decrease, about 2% decrease compared to for April of this year compared to April of 2015. Likewise, ADA service had a slight decrease as well. Both of those services, we had one less weekday of service. Weekdays are our highest ridership days and additional Saturdays and Sundays, and that's kind of reflected in the numbers. But there was an overall decrease of about 2%. But again, with the mix of types of days, weekdays and weekends, that is pretty much in line. Excuse me, van pool service. Excuse me. We are seeing a significant decrease in van pool ridership. This could be in part to fuel costs. Excuse me. Bad time to get a tickle in your throat, right? Thanks, Beverly. We do think that fuel prices, it could be having an impact on that. But as a overall policy standard, thank you very much. Much better. As part of our policy, we charge our riders about half the cost of the service. The other half is primarily funded through the federal CMAQ Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program. So it's still a good deal. Maybe we're a little less competitive with lower gas prices, but we're still providing a good service. In terms of projects, we are making progress on our downtown transit station relocation study, as documented in the report. We have both a technical committee as well as a stakeholder working advisory committee, and both of those have met. And we're also going to be doing an open house here very soon as well, a public open house. The second thing to report under projects is allocation of funding for our private nonprofit providers, the human service providers. We had initially extended those contracts through just 6 months of 2016. We've extended those contracts through the balance of the year and kept the allocations to each of the 4 service providers at the same level as the first 6 months. The idea was we were going to have that coordinated call and dispatch center up and running. We expected by July 1st. That hasn't happened. We are now on target to have that up and running by January, so the contracts have been extended throughout the rest of the year to keep those services running. We're talking about Silver Key, Amblicab, Fountain Valley Senior Center, and the intersections. So they will be budgeted through the balance of the year at the same rate of allocation, and then we're looking to fund the majority of the operation through the coordinated call center starting in January.
Any questions? Yes.
What, Tiger grants?
Yeah.
There's a Tiger grant that specifically addressed the relocation?
My understanding is the final Tiger grant that was submitted by the City of Colorado Springs did not include the downtown transit station for the primary reason that it is not shovel-ready, and one of the requirements of Tiger is that you have shovel-ready projects.
Okay.
I thought that was for the Tiger grant was for the study. The Tiger grant was for the actual building?
Correct. The study is fully funded, so we're good to go to complete the study with the funding we have.
It's because it wasn't shovel-ready that the money wasn't available?
Well, Tiger grant is very competitive, first of all. I think you have, about a 5% chance maybe of getting a Tiger grant. With multimodal transportation makes your Tiger grants more attractive, more likely to get funded. But one of the requirements is that it be shovel-ready and the projects be ready to go. In that we're just now locating the location of the downtown station. We're not there yet.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Let's go to the monthly change orders. Mike?
Good afternoon, Mike Chavez, City Engineering. All we have there is we're working on Phase 2 of the TUD extension, and we signed Classic Engineers and the change orders to do right-of-way work for us. That wasn't originally scoped because we weren't sure what we needed.
Any questions for Mike? Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Let's go to the quarterly reports from member governments. Welcome, Rick.
Good afternoon, Rick Sonnenberg, Pikes Peak RTA Program and Contracts Manager. Just an information item. I'd be glad to take any questions.
The packet is in. You have that. Are there any questions? Okay. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If I could take a few extra seconds, I've put at your place the annual report document that you approved and has come back from the printer. I've taken copies or either personally or had them delivered to all the city and town halls, Centennial Hall, the CAB, Chambers of Commerce, Manitou, and City of Colorado Springs. And I still have an extra 100 or so copies that I can deliver elsewhere if you would like me to do that.
I just think this is really well done, very, very easy to follow and gives good transparency to the work that's being done by PPRTA. I want to congratulate you and your team for the good work.
I'll pass that along. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay.
Do one thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mike? Am I reading this correctly? This is 55% above the original amount for these change orders?
Yes, it is. On the on-call contracts, they're good up to 100,000. So so we can increase them to 100. Then after that, we'd start having to bring the change orders.
Okay, and that's what this is.
Yes.
It's over 100, so we'll bring it.
It's under 100, so we don't. So it's just on the log. So it does, since it's under the cap of 100,000, it doesn't need approval. We just put on the log.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Under member announcements, I wanted to bring to your attention that Bill and I have a copy of what I'm reading for you. I've given it to everybody else, but I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I can jump up and run over.
The Colorado Department of Transportation, or CDOT, is beginning a planning and environmental linkage, or PEL study, for the US 24 corridor in El Paso County between Powers Boulevard and Rama. The objective in pursuing the study is to work with stakeholders to define a vision for the corridor and to develop an implementation plan of an improvement to reduce congestion, improve operational performance, and enhance safety through the corridor. They sent this letter to Rob asking for a representative from PPRTA to participate in this, representing PPRTA. Since it goes to Rama, I've asked Dennis if he would give consideration to this since it has an impact on them. He's going to let us know in July if they would like to represent PPRTA. If not, then my intent would be to go to the county and see if they would like to represent us. Since most of it's outside the city of Colorado Springs, I felt those were the two primary players. So, Dennis, we'll be asking you about this in July. Okay. Okay. So.
Homework.
Make a commitment now.
Is there any other comments from the group? All right, then we're adjourned.
Litigation?
As I said before you got here, it's a good meeting when you don't hear from your attorney.